coming, so
Okay.
I just let her in. And that's it. Heather has another engagement. She is seeing, what's she saying?
Heather.
Some Broadway, something's going on. She's
Something at the aeronaut.
Is it what her son's in?
Yeah, no, it's his birthday present.
His birthday. Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Hades Town, I think, opened.
Yes, that's it.
yesterday.
I can remember.
Just something. I need approval for the minutes of the March 2023 special and regular board meetings.
I move. Seth.
My second.
Just gonna check, Amber and Tanya, can you hear us?
Yes.
Cool, thanks.
Barb,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Okay, and the next order of business is the correspondence.
Not switching gears very, well, here.
I'm with you. I feel awesome today.
Okay, correspondence. I do have several copies of the correspondence, if anybody wants a print copy of that. Okay,
Yeah, I printed one off, so.
there are multiple copies of that. Okay. So correspondence, public library fund, our share was just a hair under $65,000. For the month of April, the Ohio, it was almost exactly right on track with the Ohio Department of Taxation's estimates. Actually was slightly above their July estimate, slightly below their December, or vice versa. I don't know how they come up with their estimates, so who knows, right? But we're solid. And then as far as other kinds of things, the Ohio Library Council is keeping us informed of. State budget, of course, is in process. I believe the legislators were on break last week and are back now. And just before our afternoon meeting started, I saw that the Ohio Library Council had put out a call to trustees and directors and fiscal officers to make sure that they know that whatever amendment is currently in the House committee makes sure that it holds libraries harmless, because they're proposing part of the tax cut that would reduce the PLF sum. So that's what the message is going to be. So when tomorrow I will, because I doubt it's going to happen tonight after the meeting, I will forward that message to you so you can get in touch and just let them know that that's, you know, they need to hold libraries harmless. OLC is really good about bulleting a couple of key points to include in your messages to the legislators. So, you know, it's easy as cutting and pasting some of those buzzwords, you know, along with whatever your own unique things you want to say to your legislator. Another thing going on is, of course, that it is petitioning season. We were just discussing
For funding,
for
petitioning for election.
for elections, right? So we actually were talking about the fact that there is a movement to have a constitutional amendment on the ballot, and we believe in the fall, that would set new movement on minimum wage. Of course, we know that right now we're living with a constitutional amendment that was passed some years ago that increases it without, you know, giving employers any flexibility. So that would be, you know, that's one of those things that may, you know, draw petitioners to hang around libraries and try to get people to sign their petition. But OLC makes it very clear that we are not required to grant access to those wishing to exercise that kind of free speech rights on library property. We're a limited public forum, and so it gives us some protections for our patrons and our staff members. And I looked at our own policy on petitioners on library property. It looks to me like it's time to do a little bit of clarifying of it, because we do say things like petitioners are not permitted to block patron access or harass patrons in an effort to obtain signatures, and they're not allowed to gather signatures on library property. So they can't come in the building, but then it makes it, there's some of that ambiguity. Well, is the sidewalk yours or is the sidewalk the village's? So, I'm going to look for some updated information, some other language that may help clarify that and make it easy for our staff members to be able to tell people if it becomes a problem. So that's one of those, again, that's one of those wonderful benefits of being an institutional member of the Ohio Library Council. They provide us with all this very clear information. I was very happy to see that OLC is hosting a stress first aid webinar on the 9th of May, because they realize how libraries are not just nice, comfortable, safe places for everybody. They can be very stressful at times for staff members who have to deal with the public. So it's, obviously we want a stronger workforce, less turnover, make things comfortable for staff as well, so they can do their jobs and focus on the things that are really important. So that's something new that I've not seen one of those come through OLC before. I haven't really seen a lot more movement on House Bill 1, which is the tax reform. That's not the budget one, the HB1 is the tax reform bill. Unfortunately, the way that it was introduced, it's not very kind to a lot of entities that get government funding, because it just slashes and burns and doesn't provide any backup. So we'll keep our eyes on that one as well. We'll keep continuing to watch that. More news about, book bans and challenges. And I think we talked about this a little bit last month, but I actually came across an article today in the latest issue of Library Journal. It's just the front and back of the page, so I'm going to share it with you later, not tonight, but, kind of saying, listen, it's not anymore. It's not the individual parent who comes in and says, I don't like this book on your shelf because I don't want my son or daughter reading it, but it's groups that are coming and wanting to blanket, say those kinds of materials. But who was it that had the definition? Can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it. That whole concept of it's very subjective, and it's very frightening to me, because when you look at historically other places that did that kind of censorship, well, let's look at the kind of governance they had and how the people lived in those places, and we just don't want to go there. So
think of Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just book banning, but book burning. So
that's what I've spent the last 5 months dealing with. I can't tell you how many calls that I've gotten from school librarians, library aides, and it's worse for the library aides because the principals, they throw them in there. They don't really care what's going on in the library, and they don't know how to deal with it when something comes in. So crazy.
So it's it is up to the individual to decide what they want to read and what they don't want to read. And when it comes to minors, it's up to parents to make those decisions. And we are just about making information freely available and accessible to all. So I guess I'm not going to say anything more about it, because I just,
I hope we see my hair coming out of your.
And the other thing, the very last thing on my correspondence list, where mentions Senate Bill 56 that was actually signed into law at the very end of last year. I bring this up now because Ohio Plan, our insurer, had a little article in its last newsletter booklet quarterly news, whatever it is, magazine they sent to us. I know this would be more important to Mark, and he may, any of you who are, in the insurance field may know more about it, but basically it does two things. There are indemnification clauses, that say I'm not responsible or you're fully responsible. And the change to that is that no longer there is now shared responsibility, but it could easily turn bad for libraries. And so we're going to look even more closely at contracts. We can't, any longer say, we're held harmless, that it no longer gives us that ability to say that. We have to have something specifically that says we'll share our proportion of responsibility for anything that might go wrong. And this is specifically, it talks about professional contracts with professional design firms. And so I'm going to have somebody in the know give me more guidance about whether that actually means like construction contractors as well, or if it really is, because I don't know how they define design.
Yeah.
So there's that piece. And the other piece is a change in uninsured motorist coverage. And so basically it shouldn't bother us at all, but it's people who are injured in accidents. Now it's, instead of it coming back on library's insurance, it actually goes on the individual's insurance. So that's a little bit better, because I remember discussions early on about what, even if they're insured, it goes on ours, that, so at least that's a plus. So there's that. I got.
Okay, and so we're ready for Sarah Slifer and the financial report.
Okie dokie. Hard to believe we're talking about the end of the first quarter and it's already mid-April. Crazy. This year's flown. Appropriation summary report, salaries for the month of March, $65,666. That's up just about $650 from February. So we're super close to compare the payrolls. Employee fringe benefits, $14,854. That's up around $170 compared to February. Purchase and contracted services, $12,338. That's down $2,267. Library materials, information and supplies, $25,286, and then $113 for supplies. That's up $2,137. So comparing the appropriations for the general fund between February and March March was $690 more. So that's pretty comparable. For the whole month for all funds, expenditures, $168,502 for all funds. Bank reconciliation reports for the month of March, my payments out the door, $170,584. I made adjustments for $2,000. One was the Fayetteville Friends, that shed payment. And then we had some credit card rewards and we cashed out $1,000. I brought in, which we'll talk more about when we get to the cash summary, a lot of money for the month. So outstanding payments, I did not check today, but I know we had Beatrice Mills. She did a program at Mount Orb. Her check for $150 is still outstanding. And I believe that might be all of March outstanding payments.
I was going to ask who she was, and I read it in the building report.
Oh, good.
The Bigfoot lady.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Bigfoot lady needs a cash or check. Cash summary report actuals for March. Public library fund for March was $70,684. And this is the good stuff. General property tax real estate, we brought in $401,585. I was going to talk about it, but I wanted the build up.
Wow.
So I cannot remember what it was last year. I think it might have been up maybe 10. Oh, my
local taxes, your quarterly, it was 380,
Oh,
so it's $16,000.
yeah, more this year.
17.
Ish. So yeah, that was awesome to see. Other receipts, $364.48, bringing my total revenue in the general fund for the month of March, $472,634. Yes. So I already mentioned salaries and benefits and that stuff, but that was $118,258. So general bank balance, $894,957. So it was a good way to end first quarter. Mentioned already, cash summary fund expenditures, $168,502 for all funds. So you can see where we're at in that column. I like that column. If I'm getting a little bit of a financial background, that's what I look at. March 2023 expenditure reconciliations reports payments, $89,399.95. My two payrolls you can see are super close. Well, no, I've a little bit different. $30,913.35 for March 15th, March 30th, $33,502.91. For OPERS, $9,018.27. That was the board portion. Medicare, $903.47. Health board portion, $4,385.34. You can see I paid the quarterly taxes for first quarter. And then health insurance out of pocket for employees, $1,090.80. Total expenditures, $168,502.27. So that's how I back into that number when I always mention it throughout all my reports. That's how I back into it. That's how I back into that number. Questions about any of the payments? You'll see a big one called Zen Booth, 22,370. Those are the pods that all of the branches are going to get. That was the first payment. So
pod?
Study pod.
Soundproof study pod.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think 3 out of 4 branches are getting.
Yeah, this branch was, they just, staff decided it was too small. They don't have the space for it. Yeah,
So that's one of the payments that's kind of stood out to me, but 89,000.
that's part of the grant. Yeah.
So 89,399.95 for the payments. Fund summary. Open POs currently, well, at the end of March, 148,241.15. I still have a couple from 2022, a $9,000 for Porter. That should probably be, is he wrapping up that in Georgetown? Okay.
Yeah.
Just a little small amount left for library design, 2,673, and that may be able to be close to, because I think we may have gotten the final. That Duke project, $1,758, and then I have around $800 in general stuff still open from 2022. So slowly but surely. I keep talking about the end of the quarter. The last report is your quarterly comparison between 2022 first quarter and 2023 first quarter. So PLF compared to last year, we're up $12,356. Local taxes were up $17,101. Services provided were pretty similar, $165 more. Other receipts, $160 more. Overall, we're up $29,782. So around $30,000 more than we were last year at this time. So I wrote woohoo next to that. General fund expenditures, salaries, we would expect this. We're up $18,837. Those were the nice generous increases we gave last year. Benefits slightly up $935. Library material services, we're up $11,648, buying more stuff. Operating expenditures up $3,621. So we've already done a transfer this year, which is kind of unusual this early in the year for $75,000. So around we're up for expenditures $55,121. So
And that's 75,000 we're gonna get back, right? That's the grant.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And what was that? I'm just curious, that 55,000 out in 22.
55,000 out in
So
20.
advances out. 55,000.
So that
Oh.
was for Georgetown. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we had to borrow some money from.
Gotcha.
So any questions?
So we'll get that 75.
It'll go back into general, yeah. So we're in good, really good shape.
Take a motion to accept the financial investment reports. One second.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
thanks.
Update on library chart of accounts.
There's
know if we have an update.
Well, that's, the update is, we attended that webinar, where they were gonna do training.
Yep,
And they discovered
we sat through like 3 hours of training.
it was 3 hours, 3 hours of accounting training by webinar.
That sounds like something to put you to sleep.
And it ended up with the people at UAN saying, based upon all the feedback they were getting from the librarians who were attending this webinar, we need to make some adjustments in the, yeah, in definitions of, yeah,
And I-
programs, and we haven't gotten them yet. We do not have anything, so we cannot.
Right, and I have probably 75% of it done based on what we learned in that webinar, so
And it could change.
it could change. So I just kind of halted, like, I'm not gonna mess with this, so.
Well, and, you know, that solidifies the fact that I think I had talked about the fact that I need to, you know, next month you have to approve
Yeah.
2024's budget proposal. And I was already thinking, well, I think I'm probably just gonna have to do it in our current chart of accounts. And then when they finally make decisions, we'll just have to convert the numbers later. You know, we probably won't, you know, it won't change the bottom line,
No.
but it will change the account numbers. So that's definitely gonna happen. I'm using what we have and I'm not gonna work it.
I think they just want the bottom dollars anyways.
Did they give a time frame when they would get back to you with the
No,
changes?
I thought it'd be quick.
I thought so too.
I thought it'd be like the next week.
That's fine.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, and you know, and there's some drop dead dates.
Oh, yeah.
here with, yeah,
We're lucky for our library. They're not as, a lot of counties want a certain format by a certain date. And I'm not saying ours is more lax, but we have a little bit more wiggle room, I think.
Yeah.
Because they want certain things out of our UAN system, and Jill Hall likes, I think she likes our format better than UAN. So we're lucky in that aspect, because some libraries are going to scramble, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah. But we will have to. Anything we set up for next year has got to be in the new
Yeah.
chart of accounts. There will.
What if they extended?
Oh, please.
Just
don't
let us do
extend
it.
let do
Rip the
it.
Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Audits, general and workman's comp.
I have a workers' comp audit tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So think about me. It was gonna be at 1, and then I was like, you can start anytime. And then she messaged me, Monica's her name, and she said, my 9 a.m. audit has to be moved. Do you want me to come in at 9? I was like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to sit there until 1 o'clock
They
wondering.
give you all the files that they want to.
Yeah,
You've
it's-
got everything. pulled.
Yeah, it's basically, they want to see 1099s from last year. They want to see payroll reports and how I have to report like our annual payroll total and workers' comp. And they just want to see how I backed into that. They said it takes 2 hours max. And if they wanted 6 things, 3 of them don't even qualify for our little library. So
Oh,
it should be,
okay.
it should be pretty painless. I just get nervous. The word audit just scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's as opposed to the
Oh.
general audit, which of course we got notified.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they notified us a couple of weeks ago and said they want to start it last week. We were both.
We were on vacation.
So you kind of hate to start off the process by saying, well, can we do it a little later?
See, we're setting the tone.
So, But this, if you're not familiar with the way that it works for the public libraries, for ours, we fall into a category of organization where they allow agreed upon procedures for a number of audit cycles. So we've had those all for the last I was gonna say, it might have been a little more than 6, and I think that they're kind of pandemic, whatever happened with all of that, but we're at a full audit cycle now, so we are providing
Everything.
Lots of stuff.
Boxes and boxes and boxes.
of stuff, so.
I don't even know.
But I think, you thought the financial stuff was.
I thought the initial list
Yeah.
was gonna be okay. I don't know what they're gonna come back with after that.
But you all should have or will be getting an email from the auditor.
Renee, I think.
Yeah, so, just do whatever they want to the best of your ability, because we each got questionnaires. And I'm reading some of it and going, I'm not sure I fully understand what they're
Yeah,
asking.
I was like,
We're gonna work together.
Yeah, and they also actually, sent one,
Was there a questionnaire on that email?
Yes, at the bottom, it's
All I had was her, well, maybe I need to go back in it.
right below that.
Right below her.
Right below her
Okay.
name.
well, was that the one
There's a
from
link.
me? Was-
Yeah.
That was, there wasn't anything on the one that I sent.
No,
but
this
I-
was from Renee.
Okay, directly from
Hernandez.
her,
Hope I
okay.
still have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah.
There's a Word
Well, I have a-
document.
I have a catch-all mail that everything goes in, as long as even, as long as I don't delete it, I'll move that.
Yeah.
So even though I've deleted it into my deleted box, it's always in there.
Still there.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, executive director's report. Lynn?
Sure, so building report, you got building report, it's not even summer reading program, and I look at all the things that they're all doing, and I kind of go, no wonder we always feel like we're so busy, because we're so busy. And lots of creative busy things too, but you've got both, Tanya and Amber available to answer any questions that you may have, or Amber, if you had anything you wanted particularly to point out, or Tanya, now would be your opportunity to do so. Yep, everything from green snow cones and chicken farming to, yes, and baby goats.
Cute. Oh, cute.
Nothing
That's
like a
like
baby
baby
goat.
goat yoga. Now we're gonna have baby goat time
Story time, that's right, yep.
Nothing like an animal.
A baby one.
Baby animal. Baby babies.
Baby,
Oh,
have that baby.
reading about the
Baby hippo.
Yeah, so
What's that?
this building, I think it was a Saturday, wasn't it, Amber?
Yeah.
When they found something under the bench.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
Saturday,
It
yeah,
was a few Saturdays ago.
yeah.
What
So
was the substance?
I don't know.
We don't-
We're not sure.
Yeah, we just said, you know what, let the police deal with that,
Mhm.
and they did, and
That was
we.
it. Don't need to know.
Don't need to know.
That was it. Yeah, they seized the item and we haven't heard a thing about it. So
Good.
Well, that's probably good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of hope it's just one of the things, somebody was sitting on the bench and fell out of their pocket, and, but
You just don't
you
know.
don't know. If there's nothing else on the building report, we can move on to statistics. So the really exciting thing is that Georgetown is fully open now. Yes, as of March 7th. The
We'll be
last
there next month,
section-
right?
Yes, we will be there next
Sure.
month, and so we'll be there, and then the following weekend is when they're having their open house. So it's my hope that there will be some
That's
things
good.
already on display, so that if we're there a few minutes early or whatever, I'll have time to take a look at. But Tanya's planning some grand things going on, Tanya and her staff. So statistics wise, I kind of, again, first quarter of the year, right? So I looked at our year to date, and I looked at 2022, and I thought, well, if this is a good average, then, certainly we're going to meet or exceed, most of last year's totals. I will point out though that, one of those places where exceeding numbers is not necessarily a good thing is in the number of programs that we give. Because, it's not the number of actual sessions that we're giving, but are we doing things that are relevant to people who are coming and they are getting a good quality program? And honestly, we have only so many staff and they can only do so much because programs take planning beforehand and actual implementation and assessment afterwards. And so when I look at, are the numbers going to grow? I don't particularly look at the number of program sessions and say, oh, we want to exceed, I think we're probably at about capacity of what we can do with the amount of staff that we've got. And it's really just about choosing wisely what programs we do. And I know that, there are some things yet at Georgetown that, final touches and that kind of thing, but it's so thrilling to have the whole building open. And, I'm just waiting to see, as the clientele, the community really gets the word and starts coming in, that we can get back to the busyness that they anticipated. And Tanya, I don't know if this is the point where you want to say anything about, what you've got planned for that, the 20th.
We're still putting some final touches on some things. I have a couple of ideas out there that are waiting to hear back on. But basically just a reception to showcase, where the library has come from and where we are now. And kind of look back through history. So we'll have some boards set up and some old photo albums that we have, some things that we've dug out of the closet and just kind of look at the library through the years.
Cool. That's great. I don't have anything else on statistics. You want me to head on to announcements?
Yeah.
Okay, so I also have for you all, I have copies of the announcements printed out. If anybody needs any of those, I can pass those around if anybody wants one. And then I also made packets of what the fact development day folders that we did. So if you are interested in one of those, you can take them and keep them, and there's some extra copies. So as far as announcements, yes, we talked about some facilities things in Georgetown being really pretty much done, very close to completion. And so really now we're at the point of finalizing insurance things and getting all that wrapped up, as well as a couple punch list items and a little bit of electricity here or whatever there. And then I don't think you all had a picture of it, but did I show you this at our last meeting, the tree down in Fayetteville? Okay, so that's been taken care of. Nick came and took care of the tree that was down, and he'll probably come back later when he's in the area with his stump grinder and finish that. But we will be looking at needing to dredge the retention pond at Mount Orab later, so in the season. So that'll be a fun little thing to have to do. We did do it 3 years ago. I don't think it wasn't long ago, but what we've discovered is that it appears that the village has done some rerouting of some of its storm drains. And so it appears that more stuff is coming through our retention pond. So that's going to be a more frequent thing that we have to do so we can keep ahead of it and not have it be a huge undertaking when we actually need to do it. So that's why it's happening a little more frequently, because that, I believe, was the first time we'd ever had it done was in the last 5 years. Yeah. So what really struck me this time around as far as community engagement was the number of opportunities we had to share our story with other organizations. Heather and Amber shared with the safety net group. I don't know, Amber, if you want to say anything about how that was received or what you did. And
Sure. So Heather and I recently went to an in-person Adams Brown Safety Net meeting. We are active participants with that group. It's like a resource sharing group. And they don't meet in person all the time, but at this particular, quarterly in-person meeting, they asked the library to share about our summer programs. So that's exactly what we did. And we talked about, our summer reading program and our exciting grants, specifically the library's accelerated learning grant and all of the opportunities it's providing for us with, tutoring and interns and our, study spaces and all of that. So that was a really great thing. And we had some of the folks kind of follow up with us afterwards and ask some questions. And yeah, it was well received. So.
Great.
Great.
Yeah, they did a very nice, I know Amber put a lot of the work into creating a PowerPoint presentation for them, and I mean, it was, well done, professional job. And I know Tanya had spoken at the Historical Society's a meeting where she talked about the history of Mary P. and was joined by a couple of community members, longtime library supporters in doing that. So just really appreciate the fact that, we are out and visible and supporting our community in a lot of different ways. You may have heard that the president CEO of the chamber resigned to pursue personal interests and spend more time with family life and all of that. And we have actually hired her replacement, Adrienne Moran, is taking over. And I guess she probably gets her debut tomorrow at the Trucker Awards banquet. So they're throwing her right into the fire. But it's been a couple of interesting weeks as we have, the board members have, kind of picked up and tried to make sure things help, keep going with that. I don't know if anybody else had any questions or thoughts about anything on the community engagement report that's in the packets. If not, I'm going to point out a little bit about funding opportunities. So I mentioned that under the E-rate that our applications are being reviewed. So oftentimes, rather than just rejecting an application outright, they have their people coming back to you with questions, or you may need to provide more documentation. So I responded to a couple of those, and now we're just waiting for the process to continue to, actually get official approval for that kind of funding. And that is a reimbursement of our expenses, and we are at the 70% reimbursement rate. So that's not too bad. Nice if it would be higher, but I think they're still using 21 school lunch numbers. So yeah, they have, and we have to count on the schools to put that data in. So we also, with the library's accelerating learning grant, we hit what they determined as their first quarter report. We have not had any training on using the portal that they want us to use to submit any of these reports. And even though they want us to do all the communicating through it as well, because it's a communication tool. And when you do that, I haven't had much luck getting responses, because I'm saying, the report's due in 2 weeks and I can't find where it is we're supposed to be in. Well, I finally, 3 days before it was due, got a response to my third direct email, and they hadn't even constructed the report. And they said, we'll have 30 days.
We're
send it
stressing
out.
about it.
And we're stressing about it. And yeah, so
Vacation, like emailing each other. What did we do? It's on the Ohio Department of Education site.
yeah, it's one of the apps there.
You know all about
Yeah,
that.
and I'm sure school people who use it have figured out some things, but we don't, it's not something we've ever used, and there was not any group training for it. So it's been, I'm sure I submitted things that were in the wrong place or whatever, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
So So anyway, we are trying to make sure that we comply with every requirement that they are giving to us. So I just want to make sure that you are all aware of that. And as far as the Appalachian Community Grant Program, I think I reported last time that Brown County people got together and we heard about, the planners, and I actually put in our application because we were told as a separate entity that was had a project in Brown County, we needed to ask directly and not be part of the overall county group. And we got assigned a planner, and I'm meeting with him at 8 o'clock on Friday morning to go over our project. Now that still could mean that, these are ones that were state approved, and so they're supposed to know exactly what will fit into the program requirements, and we still could be told, yeah, yours can't be funded, try something else, or, sorry this time, but that's what we'll find out. So it could mean we go ahead and we actually start looking for, we need somebody to do some site surveys. And this planning grant is supposed to help pay for things like site surveys, architectural design, that kind of thing. So we could be into a construction project planning, or we could be done with this. And I will accept either way at this point, because we're plenty busy. But if we have potential of creating the community centers that we're talking about, we don't not pursue that, right? So we'll figure out a way to make it happen. So, spectrum upgrade. It actually worked this time, took less than an hour, everything's smooth. And so we now, I know something was figured out. I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful. And staff development day, I sent around the packets so you could see what, all of our staff members got and the kinds of things that we talked about. And having the person from Ohio Means Jobs come and talk about that youth program where they're really trying to help remove the barriers to kids getting driver's licenses or certifications in trades, or, they'll pay for transportation and work clothes and all kinds of things. And so now our staff know and can communicate this to the patrons who are walking in the door. We actually even had several staff members who, the light bulb went on for individual they know, either family members or close friends who might apply for this. So the neat thing is that next time, or we'll probably bring in someone else from some other organization so that we again can provide better community service. But now we can send a staff member to Ohio Means Jobs and help them understand better what we can do to support what they are doing. So all of our resources and services. So it's really strengthening those ties. Really excited about that. And very excited about the fact that in staff development day, Brooke stepped up and did the presentation on best practices for our chat service, and Megan Taylor and the managers all did the statistics presentations. And I'm just really thrilled about having staff members who are growing in their comfort and expertise in doing that kind of thing. So that's really good. And number 7, so the day before, Adriana went and presented her school readiness early literacy kits at the OLC Youth Conferences, Youth Services Conference. And I think it was Amber, it was your word that described this thing that we're doing as really pioneering, in this area. I've said sometimes we're so leading edge that we're cutting edge. We're leading to death. We are leading edge. And the feedback that she got from a packed house, she had 60 plus people in the rooms. It was standing room only. And when she's, what she related to me was that when she told the audience, she said, "This is how many come to my story times." They're audible gasps, and so it just we really are doing some significant things in our library system, and to have, as I mentioned, I think here that the professor from, oh, I thought I mentioned it, but I guess I didn't. A professor from Kent State program was in the audience and came up to her afterwards, and this is the master's graduate library program, and said, "Thank you so much for talking to them and letting people know that it's not just about grabbing a book off the shelf and going and reading to kids, that it takes work and effort and preparation." So, kudos. I don't remember. I don't know, Amber,
It was
or
on the branch,
was the name of the professor on
I
that?
don't know about that, but that's
It's,
where.
when you told us, you did tell.
Did I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. But that, to me, that's when,
good.
kudos to Adrienne. I mean, this was her brainchild and something that she developed because of what she saw coming out of the pandemic. And it has just grown tremendously. So,
I think that's great.
yeah, it is. And
That would be a good write-up paper.
it would be a fabulous thing to do for the
Oh,
paper.
that is a wonderful idea.
It's a free.
If your name is under Mel.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Right,
Well, my grandpeople.
It'd be nice to do like a write-up and call him and get a quote.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Get Mark's daughter on.
There we go. We have a connection, don't we? We did talk a little bit about the 100th birthday party for Mary P. Shelton, and that is May 20th, Saturday, May 20th, for our board meeting. And just a couple other quick little things that came up after, of course, I did this. So I had a little bit more information. Did I speak about public records requests last time? I know I talked about it at Staff Development Day. So it's very rare that we get public records requests. Some public entities get them all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's rare that we get them. As I looked at the record sheet, it's like once every 3 years we get a public records request. So I have to always ask, look, now how do we do this again? What? And we got one requesting employees' names, job titles, and salaries. And that all falls under public records. So,
Right.
there was no question there, but, I alerted Ohio Library Council because this is one of those things that they kind of pay attention to. And guess what? Libraries all across the state are getting these requests. And so, you always have to stop and wonder, so what is it? Is it somebody legitimately trying to track wages, and growth in wages? Is there something else? I've seen it done prior to unionization attempts before when, but this wasn't asking for addresses or anything. So, I just wanted you to know that that was what came. We fulfilled it as we were supposed to. And, but I always kind of wonder because you can't ask why, you just have to give them the information. And so there it is. And the other thing that came up was that, we do Ohio deferred compensation, right? So that's the supplemental retirement. And one of the things that they allow is a Roth option, which we had actually passed during the pandemic at some point. We must have found out about it and said, oh, we should make this available. Well, some laws have changed. She referred to it as the Secure Act, which I don't know anything about, but basically we had to fill out some new paperwork documentation with them. So I did that and I submitted it so, we could be legal. But one of the things that I think you all need to know about this is that, of course, when you're over 50, you can play catch up with your retirement. You can put more in than people are normally allowed to. And there's a threshold that if you're putting in a certain amount of money, it actually has to go into the Roth version rather than into the other pot of money, the deferred comp pot. And then, of course, for highly compensated employees, which we'll never have to worry about. On their dollar threshold, they also have to do the Roth thing rather than the deferred comp thing. So I thought you ought to know about that, but they also allow you upon retirement to put the pay that would be for your unused sick or vacation time to put that into the Roth so that you don't, as an individual, you do not get hit with all of those taxes.
Just passes right on through.
That passes right on.
Wow.
So, just
Have
trying
bonus
to know about that. And so we'll, I'm sharing, additional information with our staff members, but I think it's time for her to come back and do a whole new spiel just about the Roth option, because being able to do Roth contributions through your employer is a whole lot better option than finding an independent broker, because the fee structure 0.14, whereas normally what she told me it was 2 point something that you're paying in fee. So yeah. So that's the kind of interesting things that have been going on in the Brown County Public Library.
I have a quick question,
Yes.
going back up to the Appalachian, what is the makerspace expansion?
Oh, okay. So, all right. So when this first started and nobody knew what was going on, and we still don't know a lot of what's going on. Brown County had they wanted to do something. But it didn't feel like there was any guidance, and we didn't know whether we were going to be left out.
Okay.
So I talked to people in the library, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so this group that's based out of, actually, I think Real Action, I think, is actually in Athens, Ohio. They're coordinating with multi-diverse organizations, from arts and cultural organizations for workforce development, basically from ground up to develop opportunities for people to thrive and be gainfully employed. So artisan space, shared materials, makers. So how do libraries fit in? Well, we could provide maker spaces. And so my thought was, if with nothing else, we get in this and could be a feeder for some of those big places that have huge maker spaces with all kinds of equipment. We wouldn't fit in our library. So that's what that is. Now, they got partially funded for the planning grant.
Oh, okay.
And so, of course, their meeting about it was Monday, which was my first day back from vacation, which conflicted with another meeting that I had. So I have not yet watched their webinar about, well, what does this mean for us? So that's my next step, is to find out more.
Community Rural Action Cohort received a grant to do planning, like the big Brown County.
Yeah, because right now there were very few actual implementation grants given. There was a very small pool of money for people who were shovel ready, but most of the money in this round was for planning. And then you're supposed to, by the end of this year, have your plans ready so you can submit the grant for implementation.
For 2024.
For 2024, yeah.
So we kind of got our hands in two pots.
We got our hands in 27 pots. That's what we got our hands in.
I just.
Yes.
Yes. And that's the
If you don't have the.
And then we're gonna. have them another
because this
fund.
program,
Okay.
everybody's still figuring it out. I figured better now, we can always say no later, but I'd hate to miss out.
Right. You don't want to lose that opportunity.
Okay, we have any committee reports for personnel committee? It's on there, but
Oh, the
then we're
committee
having
report.
the personnel committee meeting to be determined.
Write all those papers. You
Yes.
can, all right.
We'll get this out of my.
That's true. That's a good point. Okay, I appreciate that. So we are discussing potential wage adjustments in 2023 for 2024, but we're basically putting most of that on hold until we see the next state budget in July.
Okay,
And then we will hopefully, we'll meet in September and hopefully have something to bring to the board in October.
Yeah,
And
so
so they did a rate increase in July of last year, right?
Yeah, correct.
yes, we were at a really critical point. Inflation had really caught up with us.
To catch up.
Yes, really, it was.
Yeah.
And, we had said to the staff that we would, at middle part of the year, we would look again at what was going on. And right now, looking at it is, well, they're proposing to keep libraries at 1.7% of the GRF, but they're also proposing cuts to the GRF. And so what does that mean? And so while we are preparing and we've got some potential scenarios, so I'm gonna be crunching numbers and all of that in between now and then, but we cannot do anything before they pass that budget because, you know,
We don't know what you're gonna have.
we don't know what we're going to have, and I would never put our organization or our staff members in a position of, oh, we're gonna give you all, well, I'm gonna throw out a street number, a $10 raise, an hour raise, and then have to let half of our people go because we can't, you know,
And that, yeah, I mean, that's just, like our company, we don't do any merits until we know Q1, what our results are.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's in progress and, you know, we've got some ideas and some numbers to crunch so we can be ready when we know what the state budget is gonna do and then can move.
And that doesn't usually happen till June 30th.
At 11:59 PM.
Okay, number 6 is the trustee term of 6/27/2023 to 6/26/2030, currently held by Karen Wakefield.
And I'm hoping you find somebody really good to fill in. I'm not gonna be here.
You too.
So
Any good person, yeah.
well, Karen, you know, I tried to convince you earlier that maybe you hadn't decided yet what you were going to do about that.
I can see that,
But
I have to make that decision.
absolutely you
I
do.
mean, I have devoted a lot of time to this library.
you have.
And I hate to leave it, you know, and I've learned tons on this side, on the other side, you know,
Mhm.
both. And the library's progressed. It's been exciting for me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But it's come to a point where, okay, I'm not getting any younger and they haven't figured out how to make me younger. Things are going wrong right and left. So I just kind of hang on
Yeah.
and I'm really happy.
Good.
And I guess I come to the 27th meeting and say goodbye, or do I?
No, you absolutely come through June and so what we'll do is I have to give a notice to, I think it's the judge who appoints you maybe. Whichever,
right.
yes.
The municipal court judge.
Tell him I'm not gonna be here anymore.
That's, well,
I'm not responsible.
and we'll also have Heather, because you represent the Western Brown School
Right.
District area, we'll have Heather see if there's anybody in
Gotta be
there.
somebody else. Because of the pandemic, which has really caused a lot of problems, you just didn't go into the library like we used to. Normally, you'd go in there all the time.
Mhm.
And I just went to the one that was closest to me, but it was not my library.
Yeah.
I mean, I would wave to Heather, I'd see her, like, you know, and it was a shame, because that was a lot of time that people didn't go to the library,
Yeah.
you know, you didn't see people.
Yeah.
They're seeing.
I took a collection out of this library tonight when I was early, and it was very interesting. I mean, the magazines, I'm surprised how little they have compared to what we used to have here. But I
Papers
found the
and what-
puzzles neat. I thought, gosh, that's pretty neat, you know?
So we'll do that. We'll have Heather see if she can come up with some potential applicants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question to the board then is that do we want to try and schedule any potential interviews at the May meeting or the June meeting, you know, depending upon what kind of interest we have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we really should, because we don't need to put it off.
Right, no, exactly.
The sooner you get them.
Yeah, because there is a lot in the beginning. You have
Oh, yeah.
no idea what's happening.
Tina's been there, I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I learn every week.
But you ask questions, I just sat there, not even knowing which question to ask. Oh, gosh.
Well, so
Okay.
what I'm thinking maybe then is we still meet at 6, but instead of spending a lot of time on strategic planning, maybe
That would be
we
the
put
interview time.
the
Yeah.
interview time and maybe even set the start of the regular meeting at 7 and,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
and that way we've got time for it. Okay, so.
All right.
Well, hopefully it gets.
6 p.m. special, but it'll be,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, we'll-
Maybe next month. Oh, my God.
I know.
Oh, my God, that's down the road.
It's gonna be.
I understand, it's.
So this is in Georgetown. We're gonna meet.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's good because then I'll be able to see what the library looks
And
like.
it'll be a
and,
special,
you know,
meeting that'll be
I know.
interesting interview.
Don't go there.
And then-
It's been fun.
And we'll
It's
have the
been
regular
really
meeting
nice.
till 7.
Well, let's have a motion to enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees.
Okay,
Second.
okay, good show. Okay.
Tracy? Yes. Barb?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes. And so before we actually discuss, is there anything you'd like to say to Amber or Tanya or Amber, anything you want to say to the board?
Bye.
Nothing more than thank you so much for all of your volunteer service to
I
us.
know, it's really bad. You hold your hand up. You watch your
Last
plate.
April 2022, we went into executive session.
Yeah, no.
Exactly.
No. Okay. Impressive.
Because I went to change. it.
So I heard nothing from Tanya or Amber then?
Maybe they left.
I was just gonna say, see you all next month.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you all for how hard